All right. Hey, well, welcome to our podcast, Pursuing the Spiritual Awakening. We're Paranormal Triage. I'm Brenda,
And I'm Ryan.
and we're pretty excited to be a part of Paranormal 24/7
Yes.
and them inviting us to come and post our investigations and our podcast and everything that we've experienced over the last few years. Um,
Yeah. And in the future, all of our new stuff.
yeah. So we started investigating about 2 years ago, and that's how Paranormal Triage came about. We're also in the EMS world, so that's where triage came from. And paranormal, that's kind of obvious. So, um, para meaning outside of normal.
Yeah.
So we became Paranormal Triage.
Yeah. I think we have had, I can speak for both of us in saying that we've had some paranormal experiences prior to getting into this in our lives. And it just kind of one of those things that it happens and you experience it, you move on. But we really had some kind of personal stuff, some tragedies, and then personal things happen of a paranormal sort and really pushed us in the direction of wanting to investigate for ones where it started from. And then we realized this is deeper than just investigating. And that's where pursuing this spiritual awakening was born.
Yeah, and in all of this, we started meeting more people with similar stories, and one of our goals was to kind of help some of those families through the same grief and loss and curiosity and everything that comes with, losing family members and then having experiences due to that, kind of like us.
Yeah, come to
Um,
terms with it. What does it mean? Is it really paranormal? Is it not? And what does that mean on a spiritual level? And that's the journey we're on. So we're taking that journey with a lot of interesting people. And then we're going to share some of those people. They're going to be guests on our show and share it with you.
and we also have quite a bit of footage. Like our experiences started in our own house. Um, I had lost my dad, and then we brought his ashes home. And my
Yeah.
dad was kind of a prankster. He was a logger, kind of an old crusty logger. So he had a pretty colorful sense of humor, I
To
guess
say
you
the
could
least.
say. So when we brought his ashes home, our house got super active. We were experiencing some toys going off on their own, things flying out of the cabinets, falling off shelves.
Yeah, and we had just kind of started getting into the quote unquote ghost hunting.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, let's pull the camera out and stuff like that. So that kind of escalated a little bit. Um, and it grew with more experiences.
Yeah.
So,
So after I lost my dad, so about 7 months later, I also lost my oldest daughter. She was hit and killed by a car. And so after we had brought her ashes home, things kind of ramped up a little bit. I ended up with my ex-husband's ashes for some weird reason. So yeah, the house got super interesting. Um,
a lot of experiences, a lot of hearing things. And then we found out that there was some events, possible death, and different things that happened at that house. You know, like we said, we're in the first responder world, so we found out that somebody had, um, CPR in progress type of thing inside our house in the hallway, which tends to be where there's a lot of
activity, a lot of
activity
energy.
and energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do get asked a lot about our EMS experience if we see a lot of ghosts or experience a lot of stuff. And I wouldn't say on a regular basis. I think it's different than
Hmm.
most people's paranormal experiences.
I don't think most people that are responders really understand that that's what is going on at the time. But when you open up your mind, open up your heart to the fact that there are spiritual things that happen when we are there at people's moments of death and paranormal things that happen, when you are more open-minded to it, you can definitely sense the difference in the energy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I actually, before I even got into ghost shows or ghost hunting or investigating, I had some experiences throughout my life. Didn't know I was an empath. That's kind of a new
Hmm.
thing for me the last couple of years, and that's kind of strange and odd. And I'm still working on that. um,
Yeah.
it's just a strange thing for me. I don't know why. It just is.
Well, I mean, not only were we having all of a sudden, experiences within our house that are like poltergeist type activity, meaning just stuff flying around. toys going off, things that aren't normal. And then we realized that you're an empath, that like all dropped on us at the same time
Yeah.
amongst all the death and everything.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting journey.
It was like emotional overload. But thinking back on my life now, it definitely explains a lot of the energy I could feel as a child and things that I would connect to or relate to. I don't see ghosts, and I'm not a psychic, but I knew when there were energies in the rooms. And for some reason, I would connect with photos and things of that nature. And I think my first experience when I thought, oh yeah, there's more to life than just us, that we probably go somewhere else, is an accident on my job. One of the kids in the neighborhood lost his life in a moped accident, and he came and visited me, and it was pretty surreal. And that kind of opened my eyes, but still then I wasn't really open-minded to accepting that's what it was. So I kind of put it to the wayside. We've lived in a couple different haunted houses. Um, that was interesting.
That
and
was
scary.
interesting. And that was long before we were kind of open-minded to all of this and getting into this as a hobby and industry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not an empath, so I don't have those abilities, but just the fact that I'm much more open-minded and accepting of that there's something else. As human beings, we're all kind of energy, and I can definitely feel the changes of energy. So I can't imagine what it's like to kind of be in your head sometimes.
Yeah, it's just kind of emotional overload, and anybody that's empathic kind of understands. It's not something you can really explain, because I think we're all a little bit different in our gifts. Well, obviously, because we're all different.
Mm-hmm.
But so here we are, and we've learned a lot throughout this whole thing. Not only where do we go from here, but how to be a good investigator. We didn't want to be chalked up to just as ghost hunters or going out there just to get jump scares, because that's not what we're doing at all.
Mm-hmm.
We want to kind of really dig into this and hear other people's stories. And I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of people in the world are experiencing similar things. And
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that is kind of the basis of what drew us into wanting to do this podcast, is not only to share stuff, evidence we collect, but what does it mean and why?
mhm.
And how does it affect those people that are experiencing it on a regular basis that live in those places? And what does it mean to us pursuing that spiritual awakening?
And we want to be able to have people that aren't into the paranormal or do not have an ability, but I think most people do. They just don't realize it. Um, we want them to learn and kind of open up to some of this stuff, and just be curious. It doesn't make us 100% correct in everything that we present or say or do. This is just our experience and what we're going through. And I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and we take it upon ourselves to do our due diligence and to be as thorough as we can with our investigations to rule out things. And we're not just going to say everything is paranormal.
Yeah.
So we have our method to make sure that we are doing it right, because it means something. It means something to us, and hopefully it means something to you guys too.
Yeah. So we're gonna in some of our podcasts, I think we're going to kind of share with you the do's and don'ts, as well as
Mhm.
what we've captured, because you can buy a lot of equipment and really go into debt with this. Wink. And when you're first getting into this, it's pretty easy to say everything that you're capturing in your lens is paranormal, because
Mhm.
you're excited and you're like, oh my god, I just saw something. And then you got to sit for hours and rip it all apart. That's the side that people really don't know about. It's not like you just film and now we're going to throw it up and
Oh yeah. So we're going to go through all of our mistakes, share them with you, so you guys can learn from them, see them, laugh at them with us. Maybe even some blooper reels we might
yeah, we
show.
have some bloopers.
Some
Yeah.
pretty funny things that have happened out there. Talk about some of the equipment we use, why we like it, why we don't like it. Yeah. So we're going to go through all of that stuff.
And we've met a lot of people in the paranormal community, which has really been awesome, because we have just met a bunch of great people, and we're just I don't know, we're just nothing special. I didn't think we were.
We're just
We're
people.
just people. We have regular jobs, and we raise kids, and so being a part of this community is kind of I don't know. I guess we kind of found a little bit of a home outside of our home.
Yeah, I mean, we're part of the first responder community, which is great, but it's a different level of connection with people that are truly into the paranormal world and paranormal community. So, yeah, we look forward to bringing some of you guys into this with some of our experiences.
So we do have a webpage that you can go either contact us, if you have a story to share, or you just
Mhm.
want to reach out and ask questions or whatever the case may be. But you can go to www.paranormaltriage.com. You can find all our social medias there. We take you all the way back to the very first investigation we ever
Yeah, if you
did.
really want to go down the rabbit hole and learn about all the crazy stuff and watch the evolution of our investigation styles, the evolution of our equipment, start at the beginning and binge watch your way through it. You'll find it interesting and funny too.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have our YouTube channels. We also have a merch store if you want to support what we do and help us fund, yeah, merch store, t-shirts, shirts. That just pays for our gas and hotels and things like that, so we can bring more content. We never got into this to make money or to become famous. We're just here to share
We just want to
stories.
share with you, and every little bit that we can get to help get to investigations and share those experiences with you, and then being able to like keep the lights on and bring this podcast to you.
So that's about the gist of it, I guess. Do you want to share anything, or what do you want to
Yeah,
where
I
do we go
mean,
from here?
we look forward to being on Paranormal 24/7 in the future with you guys. So we've got more content to come. We've got guests lined up. It's a matter of just logistics, making it all happen and filming stuff and getting the content out to you. So it's coming. It'll be there. But kind of like going back to the beginning of the true kind of catalyst to why we're sitting here today talking about the spiritual awakening. We've got this video. You want to kind of lead up to
Yeah,
it,
and
or?
we're not going to just be doing this podcast. We're still going to be investigating and bringing that to the platform. Um, so we're just kind of doing one thing at a
And we have
time.
other people that help us do investigations and stuff, but we're just going to be kind of doing this spiritual awakening kind of talk with you.
Yeah. So our team consists of myself, and then our investigator that works with us probably since the beginning. Her name
Yeah.
is Kelly Bowen. She has some stories to share, and at some point she'll be on and
Mm-hmm.
she'll want to talk and tell her stories, and a lot of stories probably more people can relate to. Um, so yeah. So as far as the stuff that we've captured, we do have a video clip to show you. This was our first real, solid evidence.
We've captured, anomalies and some voices on spirit boxes and stuff like that. But this was like kind of the beginning. This was like I said, the catalyst to us starting all this stuff, and it's pretty amazing. And most people don't see this stuff, so it's like we got the crazy cool footage first, but now it just makes me want to get more
Yeah,
and learn about it.
yeah, and this one's kind of it's definitely personal and emotional because, like I said, 2 years ago, my daughter was hit and killed by a car, and when we brought her ashes home, things got more active in our house,
Mm-hmm.
and we had actually, so we were catching all these light anomalies, and my daughter, she had also lost a baby, and that's kind of part of this story as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the catalyst of her getting sick and ending up how her life ended. But so when we were catching these light anomalies, I started noticing this pattern. So if you pay attention enough and you watch enough, that's how you can start deciphering, is this bugs? Is this just fuzz? Is it cat hair floating in the air? Yeah, this is really questionable. So what I noticed was when we saw one light anomaly, there was the second one that would always follow. And that anomaly was very childlike in its movements. And I'm talking like, how kids bounce around and, when they're curious and they're just silly. This is how this light anomaly would follow the first one. The first one was just kind of always kind of slow and dopey. And then the second one was just like, it was like, hey mom, wait for me.
Oh yeah.
So so yeah, we ended up calling Ghost Adventures. Now we were really just looking for confirmation, because you have to remember this was like in the
Well, this is the
early
very,
days.
very beginning of what we were doing, and at the very beginning, it was truly ghost hunting.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the hunting side of things and looking for that magical piece of evidence. And I mean, in my opinion, we found that magical piece of evidence, and it was like, well, what now? Oh, this is bigger and deeper than just hunting for evidence.
Yeah.
This is a spiritual thing, and that's what we've turned it into.
Yeah. So we contacted them because they were doing a spinoff show. I didn't really think they would ever call us, but they did. They liked what we sent in, and they were just kind of like, well, don't investigate your house anymore. And like I've said, we've told this story before, but for those who've not heard the story, so we said, okay, we're not going to investigate the house. So like
Yeah,
3 days before they get to our house, we were bored. We got a new camera because we were, the first camera we had was just this little handy cam, I think, that we had bought for my grandson. So
Yeah,
it
I
wasn't
mean,
a
yeah.
quality camera or anything like that. So we got this new Panasonic. So we were super stoked because it had night vision, and we're like, yeah, we have a real camera now. Our whole $500 camera. And so we were just testing it out, and then we kind of got bored, and we're like, well, let's get Leanne's ashes out. And we also had a locket of hair that we cut off of her, and when she was in the emergency room, and she had this little teddy bear that she wrote all over, and we decided to get that out. And this was like the only second time I think we had ever pulled any of that out. I don't even think we ever really pulled the locket of hair out.
No, that's the first time we pulled all that out together.
So it was, I don't know why we did it. It just was a whim, there was no thought process put into it. We're just like, let's just put it out and see what we get. Because we weren't catching anything at that point after days of catching light anomalies.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sitting on the floor, and I have all her stuff in front of me, and I can't see because it's, all the lights are off, and Ryan's got the camera. And, of course I say, Leanne, are you here? I think I've seen you before, and I think you're with Hannah. And I said, why don't you poke my shoulder like you do? Let me know you're here. And probably not in that exact words, but, to that degree. And so this is what we caught on camera. So we're going to share that clip. You want to say anything?
While you're setting it up, I'll talk about it a little bit. You are going to see quite a bit of footage of our house. And one of the things that we do the ongoing true investigation of somewhere takes a long time. So it's an ongoing.
My shoulder like you do.
Yeah, you said poke me. You'll see it here. Right.
Okay.
And I sound like a weirdo.
I can't even talk right now.
I'll do it because not only did I see it,
I saw a long string floating orb,
but
and I'm getting like this weird chill thing in my throat.
past.
It's hard to talk, and my eyes instantly started watering.
It went through me, it past me, and I wasn't scared. I didn't have any fear, but it definitely affected me. Almost like you get the wind knocked out of you. I couldn't get the words out, but I wasn't like, I could still breathe, and I wasn't like fearful. It just caught me off guard.
And it caught me off guard because I'm not used to Ryan reacting to stuff like that. He's kind of pretty stone-faced most of the time.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo. I don't react to stuff.
Of course, I did the wife thing, and I'm like, you need to calm down. What's wrong with you? But I had no idea what he just saw, so it was weird. So we'll play it again here. So in the video, you see Leanne come out. That's the big, long, wispy light anomaly.
Yeah, that's what we believe is Leanne.
Over to the middle right, you see a black cabinet. That's our fish tank. And then there's the sofa there. Just on the armchair right there, you'll see Hannah pop up. And she bounces out there. I mean, I think it's dependent on the quality of your computers, whether you see it or not.
And as we have gathered more and more evidence at our house and scrutinized the absolute heck out of it, we've come to the conclusion that, like you said earlier, every time we see that kind of bigger, kind of wistful, flowing type anomalies, there's always that kind of like bouncy, all over the place one that follows. It's a little bit smaller. So our conclusion is that is Leanne and Hannah.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll play it one more time. Poke my shoulder like you do.
So you did say poke my shoulder.
I did.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
normally you see her bounce out.
I can't even talk right now.
Yeah. And then
I
when
saw a long string floating orb.
through this footage more and more, like hours and hours of picking this apart, there are actually more and more little anomaly type things that kind of fly back and forth
They
at Brenda's back.
Yeah, they shoot into my back. I have Leanne's rings on my neck right here that she was wearing. So I wear them, and there were light anomalies flowing around my rings.
Mhm.
And just, it was so weird. It's like, and the more you watch it, the more you see them, because you really have to have an eye for this sometimes.
Yeah, you miss stuff all the time, and then you are watching footage, from 3 months ago, and you're like, "Holy moly, I saw something." But the biggest takeaway from that, in my opinion, what it did for us is it switched us from, "I'm just gonna capture some cool ghost evidence," to truly, like, the deep down in your heart spiritual side of
Mhm.
this. And that opened up all the questions and sparked all of the investigating into that.
Yeah.
So now we've coupled all that together into what paranormal triage is
Yeah.
investigating it and connecting that to that spiritual sense of things.
Yeah. So yeah, here we are. And
Yeah.
in all of this, we have been told that we have a gateway in our bedroom.
Yes.
And that could account for why we have so much activity or light anomalies or things that we think we see, because we're always catching stuff out of the corner of our eyes. We'll hear things every once in a while. Um,
I've had experiences,
our
seen things in the
toilet seat
house
is lifted up and
all
gone
by
down.
itself.
Yeah, it's just weird.
That had to have been your dad.
Yeah. So it's just weird stuff like that. I remember a few months ago, I was sitting on my bed. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep, and Ryan's sleeping, and I have my legs crossed, and I think I was on my phone, and I felt not that the squeeze on my knee, but it was like somebody's hand on my knee, and then they shook my leg really hard, and I've never had that happen. And my arm kind of went flop, and I hit Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Something just grabbed my leg." So, and I've never experienced anything like that before, but I've seen a lot of stuff. I feel stuff, but I don't see a lot of apparitions yet, just more shadows and things of that nature. So I do kind of believe that we have a gateway, and plus the area we live in, it's a lot of Native American land. And, I'm sure a lot of sacred land has been built on. And, in the early days of California becoming, settlers coming here, there was a lot of death.
And there's a lot of history too.
Yeah.
We live in Northern California, the real Northern California. And there's a lot of history with the building of the dam. There's a lot of history with the mining that happened here,
Mhm.
with the logging that happened here, different,
The farming,
the gold rush
cattle
that came
ranchers.
through, the cattle ranchers. And we're going to talk about that when we present a lot of other stuff. And we're going to have actually one of our guests that we're going to line up is a guy that is from the Historical Society here. Awesome dude. And he's going to be one of our guests and talk about the history, because that plays a big part of how we investigate too.
And so we'll kind of close this with, I'm going to show you a video. We have dropped it in another video recently, but we're going to show you another video, and this is why we believe we do have a gateway in our house, because we've just caught stuff in our lens. It just makes no sense. And we have filmed our bedroom before and never have gotten this kind of activity.
No.
And in learning about some of this stuff, depending on the time of year it is, and moon cycles and summer solstices and winter solstices, there's more energy. And
Mm-hmm.
I think right now our house is pretty active because of the energy levels in the universe, so to speak. I'm not really an astrologist, but hey, I might get there someday. I know there's stars up there. So let me show this to you.
Nothing's coming off of there, but there's stuff flying all over.
Like, does it look like dust?
No,
There we go.
Dust doesn't. So this is our bedroom. Don't judge us, please. But we've never had this kind of activity before in there.
Yeah.
And we've went through and tested to see if it was dust coming off of things, if there were bugs. I mean, We've turned the fans off. We've turned the heater and the air conditioner systems turned off. There's nothing that would be causing things to be flying around. So
And to the left, there's that white shelf. There's two anomalies right there that just don't make sense. To the left right there is that white cabinet.
where that American flag is.
Yeah. My daughter's ashes are on that cabinet. And she does come out of there at one point. I know it's her because it's similar in what we've seen before when we thought it's her.
Oh, yeah.
you know?
It's a very similar shape to what you just saw in our living room.
Yeah. And she comes out and she flies around my head a few times and then goes up to a higher shelf where her daughter's stuff is that I have in a box. So when I go back over to that side, you'll see her right above my head. But, I'm beating on the curtains. Nothing's coming out. There's no dust flying around like the house is dirty. But dust does flow. There it is right there.
There it is.
So that is her.
That is not a round thing. I mean, it's long, it's cylindrical shaped, very similar to what came out in the living room.
Yeah, and it's similar to what Ghost Adventures captured when they filmed. So yeah, we're pretty convinced that we have some kind of
But
gate.
sometimes on the Fathom, when
And
you're looking
are we
at it,
gonna
you don't see anything. But on the
try to
video
close it?
playback,
Probably
something
not.
went behind your
I mean,
over there.
nobody's getting hurt by it. Nobody, nothing bad is happening. So we're probably just going to leave it alone until we need to deal with it.
Yeah, there isn't anything negative happening, and we're going to have an episode about that too, talking about negative stuff and how you deal with it and how you approach it and how you avoid it, because that's actually a pretty big thing to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And we're not doing anything. We don't do seances. We don't use Ouija boards.
Nope.
We don't do anything like that on purpose. That's not what we're about. Yeah. So I mean, we're not conjuring anything.
And we may have guests on. I mean, more than likely we'll have guests on that talk about that kind of stuff because
Mhm.
we're not going to discount Ouija boards because somebody believes in it. I think it's all comes down to your intention. Even for me, I struggled and still kind of struggle biblically,
Mhm.
whether I'm doing the right thing or not. But I think it really comes down to intention. So if your intentions are bad stuff's going to happen. If your intentions are good, you're probably going to have a positive experience. Not to say that negativity can't dip in and out. So you have to be just aware, be smart.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say, all the things we talked about, coming into this new streaming service that you have in this podcast, that you can look forward to seeing some more stuff here, 2025 here
Yeah.
in the near future.
And please go check out other people on Paranormal 24/7.
Yeah.
We've met a lot of great people. I know they're going to be streaming on here, and they're funny and fun and interesting. And there's a variety of things for everybody. So be open-minded and check out new things. Check out new things.
Go to our website and send us an email and contact us if you have something you want to say or it's important. You want to be a guest on our show. Do that.
Yeah, and go to our merch store. Ding ding. Anyway, so I guess that's it for tonight.
Yeah.
If you want to close out with anything, I think that was it.
I think that's about it for now. That's just generalize what we're doing, and we're going to bring you some more kind of focused content here in the near future.
And thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
We'll see ya. Toodles.